Hey everyone, welcome. Eric Meyer here along with four of my awesome FisherBroyles partners to break down the Paycheck Protection Act provision of the CARES Act. I am joined, and I'm going around the wheel. As I look at the Zoom screen, I'm going to go clockwise. I am joined by Kevin Gluntz, Amy Epstein Gluck, Jess Bahs is at 9 o'clock, and Paul, you're sitting there at about 10 o'clock. Paul, we'll go back the other way. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. My name is Paul Economon. I've been here with FisherBroyles for a little bit over 4 years out of the DC office. I'm a corporate M&A transactional lawyer. I do a lot of work with businesses, small to mid-size. From startup to growth to exit. And so these provisions in this act are squarely within what my clients, the client base that I serve. So I look forward to helping folks understand a little bit more and unpacking it with these fine folks we have on with us.
Thanks. Jess, it feels like Hollywood Squares. Jess, how you doing today?
Hi there.
Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a corporate and tax attorney, really with an emphasis on the tax side of corporate matters that come up with LLCs, partnership tax, corporate tax, M&A transactions, and their financial issues, things like that. Been kind of following this a lot with when you're in tax, you're kind of used to following legislation quickly and reacting quickly, and this is kind of like that situation, and this legislation has a lot of tax issues with it. So. And the computational issues really for the loan and the forgiveness. Tax terms come into play. So been kind of watching it and participating with the others in the group in that sense.
Next is my awesome employment law partner, Amy Epstein Gluck. How you doing, Amy?
I'm good, Eric. Thank you. As Eric said, I'm Amy. I'm an employment lawyer here with FisherBroyles. I'm a partner and employment counsel to the firm and all the employees. So I handle employment matters large and small, ranging from general compliance to general compliance with state, federal, and local laws, as well as EEO matters, arbitration, mediation, state and federal courts. I also handle employment litigation defense and business litigation matters. This plays right into my wheelhouse because it goes along with the other coronavirus legislation faced by employers throughout the country, including the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So I'm happy to have collaborated with my esteemed colleagues, especially in the tax and the business realm, to figure out how we can help employers as a whole.
Thank you, Amy. And Kevin, how you doing today? Kevin Gluntz, what's up?
Great, thanks. Hi, my name is Kevin Gluntz, partnered FisherBroyles for about 3 years now. With what I bring to the table, I started out in Big Four public accounting, went to big law, received an LLM in taxation, and then proceeded to really move into more of the M&A, venture capital, private equity world. And as part of helping my clients raise money, I try to bring every tool to the table that I can. Sometimes those are local government loans. Sometimes they're local tax breaks, employment tax breaks, empowerment zones. These things have been around for years to help blighted areas. This would be the first legislation that really is broadly across the board on a national level to pretty much just about everyone anywhere who could qualify. And so this is part of the package that I would bring to my employers, clients anyways. But I think, in this realm, there's actually a social utility aspect to it as well. We're helping to get this in place and get this in people's hands to use.
Thanks, Kevin. While you and Amy were talking, I wrote down in pen the big word disclaimer, and then I highlighted it. So before we go any further, let me give a big giant disclaimer to everyone who's watching this video. We are lawyers. We're probably not your lawyers. So don't confuse anything that we're giving here as attorney-client privileged information. Don't confuse anything as specific advice. Any questions that we try to answer here are hypothetical, ones that you're asking for a friend. If you need a lawyer, go call a lawyer. but this is very much informational and not creating any sort of attorney-client privilege. Okay? Paul, Paycheck Protection Act. For folks who may have just crawled out from under a rock this morning or may just want to know some basic information, can you give us a little overview of the Paycheck Protection Act that's in the CARES Act?
Sure. So it's actually the Paycheck Protection Program, Eric, under the CARES Act, which as Amy intimated earlier, follows on the heels of the Family First Corona Response Act. That they're both designed, they're sort of used together to help businesses to get emergency funding from the federal government through a number of different vehicles, and then also help the employers maintain jobs for the employees, so that they're paid and you can kind of keep the economic engine on idle, is the concept. So the Paycheck Protection Program provides small businesses through the SBA, backed by the Treasury, provides small businesses with funds to pay up to 8 weeks of payroll costs, including benefits and a number of other things. You can use the funds for pay. You have to use them for payroll. You can also use them for certain interest and rent payments. And if you do so and you report back through your lender, the principal will be forgiven. And basically what happens is you get your loan, which we could discuss a little bit more. You go ahead and use it, deploy it out through your business, pay your employees, use it to keep the lights on, use it to pay the rent, report back to your lender what those expenses were. They take that back to, they prove it or have you fine tune it, take it back to the Treasury. Treasury pays them, and that part of the principal is forgiven up to 100% of the principal. So it is really designed to keep those jobs in place and keep those employers, like I said, idling while we get through this unfortunate and unprecedented situation.
Thanks, Paul. Amy, I've been getting a bunch of questions from clients and from readers of my blog, and I'm sure you're a blogger. I'm sure you're getting the same. I mean, one of the common questions I'm getting is, Eric, why do you refer to it as the Paycheck Protection Act when it's the Paycheck Protection Program? But aside from that, Amy, what are some of the more common questions that you've been fielding from clients in contacts?
Sure. One of the most common questions I'm hearing is, what if the employees I laid off on a temporary basis don't come back when I offer them their job back? How does this impact the loan? That's a really common question. And, you know, as Kevin and I discussed earlier, there's a distinction here between how the reduction of salary is seen versus how a layoff is viewed. If payroll falls because someone quits, because your employees quit, one or more, the employer's not penalized. If you reduce employees' salary, it depends. And I'm going to let Kevin finish the answer to that question.
Okay. Yes, again, this is intended to be protective of employment of individuals as well. So there are, and without going into too many specifics and getting lost in the weeds, there are, and I'll call them penalty provisions that will reduce the amount of forgiveness by an amount in addition to the reduced cost that the employer has if the employer is reducing salaries of people, if they're laying people off. You kind of can't have it both ways, speaking again at a high level. So when you're going to get these, make sure you understand that, and you aren't free, business isn't, you know, free to be transacted as usual to retain the benefits that you want to get. And so, you know, again, the kind of the tricky questions are Amy's, you know, where the person won't come back or the person quits, you know, that, you know, our take on that has generally been that doesn't seem like it qualifies under the penalty. But again, this is, I've been telling my clients, this is a time when the action has had to be ready, fire, aim, instead of ready, aim, fire. And we've already fired, they got the legislation out in record time, and the AIM part is now coming through regulations of the SBA, of Treasury, and we'll be seeing those forthcoming in the coming days. And those are all, you know, usually in those instances, the public, and that means a lot of times lawyers and accountants get a chance to comment. Those will be abbreviated. So you're gonna see some tweaks. And I'll stop before I answer too much then.
Right. Another question I keep getting is about your more highly compensated employees. And I don't mean that in a tax term. I know that's a term of art. But how can you include in your payroll costs people who make more than $100,000 when you're determining qualification for the loan? That's a common question I'm getting as well.
Right.
And I mean, part of the answer from an employment perspective is, you know, it's relevant when you're determining qualification and you exclude reductions to salaries above 100,000 when you're trying to decide if there's a salary reduction penalty. And that has to do with what we were talking about earlier about forgiveness. That is an aspect for loan forgiveness. So with payroll costs, you're looking at salaries, but there's a cap at that $100,000 range.
So going into this this Zoom chat, I had teased to readers of my blog, The Employer Handbook, at theemployerhandbook.com. You know, if you had some questions, hypothetical questions, we're not giving legal advice, but just general questions that you'd be asking for a friend, hypothetically, what would you want to know? And we've already anticipated one of the questions about what happens if company payroll falls, so we're not going to revisit that. But there was another general question that a bunch of people had, and I'll pose this to Jess. And the question goes something like this. This seems like free money, and there's no such thing as free money. So what's the catch here if we get a loan? What's the catch?
Well, if you don't use the loan for the intended purpose, you would have to, of course, pay it back. That would be the main downside. But is that really a downside for a lot of people that are hurting? The loan, there's no guarantees, there's no collateral, and it's an interest rate of less than 4%. So for most people, they would never be able to obtain a loan like that. In that sense, it is too good to be true in many ways. And if they use the money for the intended purpose, then they don't have to pay it back. So functionally, the government is paying the equivalent of 2.5 months of your payroll costs. You get to keep the profit. And Uncle Sam will, of course, have the tax bill on the taxable income portion, but otherwise you should not need to pay that back. And that is a good deal. Now, the catch, I guess, will be, and this is more for economists than lawyers, but we probably will someday pay this back in higher taxes and inflation if everything goes to plan. And that's going to be the catch. But for now, I think people should consider, what if you do not obtain these funds and your competition does? And then you're at the disadvantage. So I really don't view it as there being a big catch in the near term.
And that gets back to Kevin's ready, fire, aim approach. Paul, there were a couple questions that came in about a good faith certification that the government is asking folks to make. And one of the questions received was, what does this mean? A good faith certification that the uncertainty of current economic conditions makes necessary the loan request to support the ongoing operations of the eligible recipient. Can you unpack that for us?
Absolutely. Thanks, Eric. I'm not aware, you know, just in my practice and my observations in what's going on right now, of any business out there right now, small, medium, or large, that can't certify to that in good faith. I don't think you have to get much further than the economic uncertainty of the future poses, you know, a situation in which, you know, we need some additional funds to shore up this business. We're in an unprecedented situation, and there's I don't think that it's a stretch for anyone right now to make a certification that, because of these uncertain times and unstable times, and there are no guarantees given guarantees on how effective or ineffective these measures will be on our economic state and the world's economic state. So it doesn't concern me at all for anyone to make that certification, because you're making it in good faith. We just don't know. We don't know what the future holds, and that's what this is designed for. It's designed to preserve these jobs. As I said, keep this engine just on idle long enough, hopefully, that we can get through this period of time. Workers can get paid during this period of time so that they get some relief from what is just, a disastrous condition. So I've looked at all the certifications, and I have none of them, just from my position as an attorney advising small businesses, none of them concern me. And I would encourage, as I have all my clients, to take a very hard look at applying for this program and getting some money to help them out, because everybody is facing economic uncertainty. There's not a person listening, and there's not a person out there who isn't. That's my opinion. That's sort of my view and how I look at that. It's a great question, but I think it's pretty safe to say that this is a uncertain time that we're living through.
I'll open this up to the other three. Jess, Kevin, Amy, what else should businesses know? I mean, we only have a couple minutes left, but what else, in a nutshell, should businesses know about the Paycheck Protection Program?
Well, if I could start, this is Kevin. I've had, in the conversations I've had with my clients, they're saying, they're listening on the news and they're getting snippets. They are snippets, and they need to be taken with a grain of salt. For example, I hear that I'll get the money in 3 to 5 days. Well, I have an ongoing relationship with a lender who happens to be an SBA lender, so I'm in. Well, if I can get $2 million, I'm going to get $2 million. And nothing's what it sounds. I had to tell a client, well, you're not going to necessarily get $2 million as a blank check amount. I know you have that relationship with the lender, but you're not the only one. There could be a bottleneck at that lender. There could be many things. What the news is telling us is these are available to the public now. Application period starts, I think, for payroll protection this Friday. Tomorrow is it's Friday. Forgetting what day it is. I saw someone joking about that on social media, forgetting what day it is. But yeah, there are these things, and so get yourself prepared. Another word of caution is an incorrect application will get returned to you, and it'll multiply the process unbelievably. And again, you're talking about someone who's dealt with these government programs for a long period of time. There is only a limited total amount of funds, and you don't want to rush to get that thing in there without checking it over, without having someone, professional who's done this before, checking it over and have it be wrong or insufficient, and then you're back out of queue again. And now, again, your chances. There is a limited amount of dollars overall, and you don't want to miss the boat that way. So I'll stop with that before I monopolize.
Yeah, I'll take the next point. I'll take the next point. For me, this loan protection program speaks to the questions that I've been fielding for the last, I would say 3 to 4 weeks. And I know you have as well, Eric. What if I have to cut hours? What should I do? Should I furlough? Should I do a temporary layoff? Should I do a permanent layoff? This loan program speaks to all of those issues. That this loan program helps you make those decisions and helps an employer determine what can I do that's going to keep my business afloat while I am protecting people's paycheck. So for me, this plays into everything I do for my clients, which is, working with them to figure out Okay, if they have had to temporarily lay people off, what are they doing? How are they paying for their paid state and federal sick leave payments? How are they paying for severance if they're providing severance? So between what this is providing for businesses as well as for state unemployment commissions, the loan is just integral.
Yes.
Yeah, I echo Kevin in terms of have good records, provide good records, organize them. I would go for the maximum you can. One client asked, well, we have some people that no longer are employed. I won't be having them. And my response was, you qualify to your loan amount based on what you paid those prior people. You don't know, you may add some people back and then that forgiveness could happen. But either way, I would max the loan. Now, people need to be careful they don't commit any fraud.
Right.
You're signing under penalty of perjury that the information is accurate, and there will be fraud, and people will be prosecuted. There can be criminal charges for any fraud. So you want it so that it doesn't delay the process and it doesn't result in criminal harm to you, of course. I'm hearing that there are a lot of problems with the application process. The banks are going to take that over. It won't be solely run through the SBA, and so that will help. But once you submit the application, there's not really a way to amend it. So that's a problem. And people are going to be inputting information over the computer. They may not be able to backspace and change an error. So they want to make sure they have everything organized and that application is perfect as they're ready to input the information through, say, a bank portal or whatever.
Hey, and Eric, I'd just like to echo sort of both Kevin and Jess on, having your documents ready and correct. And this is a very technical legal term. Pigs get fat, dogs get slaughtered. Just be honest. These funds are out there. They're designed for small businesses and they're designed to help employees. Just like Jess said, get as much as you're eligible for, but then use it correctly and don't abuse the system. This is for the greater good, and you're doing your part by getting it and deploying it to the proper places.
Paul, Jess, Amy, Kevin, thank you so much for taking some time out to chat with me today. Show of hands, everyone on LinkedIn? Yes?
Yes. Thank you, Eric.
Yes.
Paul Economon, Jess Bahs, Amy Epstein Gluck, Kevin Gluntz, all on LinkedIn. You can find all of them, of course, at our law firm website, FisherBroyles.com. That's FisherBroyles. If people are looking at this on YouTube, look down in the description below. I'm going to link everyone's contact information down there so you can get in touch with anyone on this video or others who may be able to assist or otherwise. This is not a time to handle this on your own, whether it's the CARES Act, the FFCRA, any portion of the stimulus package that's coming out. If you have questions, talk to a lawyer, talk to a friend, but hopefully that friend is a lawyer and give good answers. Okay.
We have friends?
I have a few left. Hopefully 4 on this video, but I think I have some other ones too. So thank you, everyone, and I'm going to stop the video now.
Thanks, Eric.